Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
All right, and everybody, thank you once again for joining us here on Best Seat in the House podcast. I'm your host, Rob Cramer, alongside, as always, Daniel Bobo Kurlan. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing fine. Right now, I was helping out a friend with a job, so I'm just at his place. I'm filming from his place since I was here, and it would be a little bit quicker than waiting for the bus and filming the show a little later.
Makes sense. And so, am I to understand that you are in a secret location this week, basically?
Yeah, exactly. All I'm gonna say, it's a secret location in the city.
There we go. Okay, very mysterious this week. I like it a lot. And we're kicking off this show in mysterious fashion. And the only thing that was more mysterious was the Mets' ability to not get a hit in the clutch yesterday against the Yankees. As we're filming this today on Wednesday, the Mets' first off day in just about 2 weeks. We unfortunately watched them get swept by the Yankees. And Dan, how you feeling about that right off the bat?
I gotta say, game one, I was like on my way home from a doctor's appointment that I was set to arrive home at 5:30. I saw an alert on Game Time, tickets $35. I could not pass up on that. 30. Get it? The game had just started by the time I get to the Bronx, but I figured why not? So I bought the ticket. Went to the bath as soon as I got out of the car because a friend of my mom's was kind enough to drive me to that appointment. Got out, went to the bathroom. Then I packed because I can't bring my backpack into the stadium. I took the things out of my backpack that I usually take when I'm going out: my umbrella, my wallet, my keys, my phone charger, my power bank. Put that in the drawstring bag because that's the only kind of backpacks they allow in most MLB stadiums. And I hopped on the train, and I got there. And I can tell you a couple of things I've noticed about the difference about Yankee Stadium and Citi Field. And I'm comparing this on days that are packed. If you're comparing a packed Citi Field near or at full capacity crowd and at near or full capacity occupancy, I would say that the entrance is a little bit quicker at Citi Field entering the ballpark. Also have to say that than Yankee Stadium. Also, exiting the stadium at Citi Field after a game is quicker than exiting Yankee Stadium. The other deal, I think, and I've heard some Yankee fans say this too, also, even entering the train station, I feel is I have to say it is a lot quicker at the Citi Field station. You've seen the entrance, specifically if you have to go up when you go up if you've been to Yankee Stadium before, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you get it. And you know how walking up the steps, how narrow the entryway is?
Yeah.
Yeah. I purposely have a little hack for that though that I figured after the first time after when I noticed it, that my mom had taught me a little hack from that entryway. Sometimes I forget the hack, but years ago my mom taught me this app because she had been to Yankee Stadium, I guess, before years at times, sometimes with her family, whatever. But what happened was after the first Subway Series game, she taught me the trick is, how you get the entrance to the B and the D trains.
Yes.
You enter that underground entrance, and there's a little pathway that leads to the upstairs level of the station where you get the 4 train.
Mm-hmm.
go up that way to get to the 4 train, and it's less packed.
Oh, okay.
And you've got into the platform. Also, I have to say the 4 train runs at the pace of a snail on the return trip to Grand Central.
Yeah.
Runs at a pace of a snail, and it was a local. Like, sheesh. At least Citi Field has the Super Express.
Well, that's true too. If you catch that train at the right time, you can get to Citi Field real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Well, also maybe it's also in the context of where I live, because
True.
field officially, according to the ballpark app, MLB ballpark app.
Yeah.
I'm like, quick. So it's like quick, but yeah. But the one thing I gotta give the setup at Yankee Stadium, the train station has a wheelchair accessibility, something that I have heard I think needs to be addressed at Willis Point Met Station. Wheelchair accessibility at that subway station. It is the only sports venue in the city of New York, and I'm even counting the Meadowlands because the 2 football teams are New York. And just for the heck of it, I'll count the UBS Arena, even though it's in Long Island, and I'll count the Prudential Center, even though it's in New Jersey. And there are 2 separate agencies. The UBS Arena is LARR, and of course, the Prudential Center and New Jersey Transit are New Jersey. But they're all wheelchairs. They have wheelchair accessibility entrances at the stations. And all the arenas in the city, like Madison Square Garden, Barclays Center, they have wheelchair accessible entrances at their station. But for some reason, this one station is not wheelchair accessibility. And I've known some Met fans that it bothers them about that. All right. I even once toyed with the idea. I don't know I don't know what my response to me doing this, but I was thinking of going to a game, saying what I would call a wheelchair challenge to try to prove a point how difficult this is on a wheelchair, and even going to a Met game to show how annoying it is for people on a wheelchair to have to deal with this.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's definitely something that a lot of people don't talk about too. You're right.
I was once somewhere that I got to meet Steve Cohen. And when I talked to Steve Cohen, I asked him about that, and he told me that he wishes he could spend his own money to fix that problem with the subway entrance. But he told me, unfortunately, and before the certain person I know for the FDA complains about it, I'm not complaining about the FDA. I just complain about this one station, the wheelchair accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
He said he wishes he could do something about it, but unfortunately, he said it's under the MTA's jurisdiction. He said that he can't do anything about it. He says they're likely not to let him spend his own money and construction crew building this. The MTA has the final say on that, and they're the only ones that could really do anything about that, he said, because it's MTA property, he said, that station.
And that's ridiculous.
Also a little bit, he says sometimes it's a lot of things he has, because also Citi Field is built on city property. They own the property.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
well, Steve Cohen is a great owner, and it's a shame that they won't let him even spend his own money to do that. But let's get back to the games now. As the Mets and the Yankees obviously played the last 2 days, losing Monday, losing at the game you were at on Monday. They ended up losing on Tuesday as well. What do you think coming out of here, Dan? I see a lot of Met fans hitting the panic button right now. And
I'm getting nervous about this. I have a feeling this team might be a little different, because I thought last year, had DeGrom not been injured, we might have not even if we had lost first place, we might have gained first place back. Because I feel DeGrom was he was like the X factor the first half of the season.
Yeah.
And I feel this season there's some pitching that's going to be the X factor of this.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's going to make the complete difference, right?
Got to win every series. That's the only way it's going to go. It's going to go well.
Yeah. And you know what, though, too?
You have to win tomorrow's game.
Well, and not only that, coming off this sweep, and if you add that, obviously the Mets straightened themselves out a little bit last weekend by taking 3 out of 4 from the Phillies, but they also lost 3 out of 4 to the Braves before that. And if you look at their last 10 games, they've lost 6 of their last 10 games. If you ask me, and I'm not hitting the panic button yet. I still have confidence in this team, and I think you're right that the pitching is going to be the big deal. But what I really think they have to do to make a statement now, just like we just saw, the Atlanta Braves crush a terrible Pittsburgh Pirates team. They swept them 3 straight, including today, the day we're recording this, Wednesday, smashing them 14-2. The Mets have to do the same thing to the Colorado Rockies, who've been one of the worst road teams in baseball. The Rockies are 35-30 at home. They're 19-40 on the road. The Mets have to take advantage of that, and they absolutely have to sweep the Rockies. And I'm realistically going to say, okay, maybe they're going to take 3 out of 4, and I'll still be happy with it. But look, if the Mets want to win this thing, because the Braves are now only a game and a half back, 2 games in the loss column, luckily, but only a game and a half back in the standings. The Braves are coming, and I know the Mets' schedule gets lighter from here on out, but don't forget they play the Dodgers next week too, and they have 3 more against the Braves at the end of the year. So, I don't know, Dan, what are you feeling right now about that statement that the Mets have to sweep the Rockies this weekend?
I feel that's an accurate point. I'm feeling nervous about this, hoping we get the job done. Also, I have to say about one more thing about the Subway Series. On Monday's game, talk about bandwagon Yankee fans. I section stuck with these TikTok girls, what they amounted to. They were just bandwagon Yankee fans, all right?
Yeah.
That's all I felt like I was sitting next to was a TikTok crowd at that game.
Of course. And with today, it doesn't surprise me. Everybody's on freaking TikTok.
Yeah. At least that I always tell people, outsiders, the difference between a tourist and a local. The locals will probably wear Mets caps because fans, it's a team for diehards, all right?
That's true. You're not going to just have somebody, show up in New York and decide to put a Mets cap on. They're going to put, that's going to be the real diehard that has that Mets cap on.
Yeah, yep, exactly. I told that to people. I told a little friend of mine from Bama. I told her, I could become a Met fan. And I told her, I said, the locals, they'll look at you like a local if you wear a Mets cap.
You'll blend in more.
Yeah, I gave her a Mets cap.
Yeah. It reminds me from The Simpsons when Apu had the Met hat on, and he says that the 9 Mets are his favorite squadron. You don't remember that?
A little fact about that: the guy who does the voice of Apu, Hank Azaria, he's a diehard Met fan.
Yes,
diehard Met fan from Queens.
Yeah, very true.
Watch Brockmire, but that was such a well done show.
Yeah, that was a good show, no doubt about it. So,
did you see that video on YouTube? It was a tie-in to the show that he did a little thing with Jacob deGrom as Brockmire.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, that one just made me laugh. That was like, man, I remember seeing in 2017 when the whole pitching staff was injured and pretty much knocked us out of contention when that happened. I said, you know what? Maybe the last week of the season, SNY should maybe gain a couple of viewers. Have Jim Brock, have Hank Azaria do the middle innings as Jim Brockmeyer.
That would be awesome. And that would definitely get people to watch it, no doubt about it.
Like, yeah, just period. I would love to see that for one game. Hank Azaria do the entire game as Jim Brockmeyer.
That would be hilarious. But you know, though, the Mets aren't really having trouble getting ratings right now. Did you hear that last night, actually, the game on SNY was the highest rated SNY game of all time? It actually broke the previous record, which was the final game at Shea in 2008.
Yeah, I have to say that I think one of the things that played a factor in that is because some Yankee fans that have cable but don't have an Amazon Prime subscription, they don't want to pay for Amazon, and they realized they were able to get the game without having to pay for Amazon by just settling for watching the Mets feed is what happened.
Oh, no doubt about it. I totally agree.
So I'm sure, believe me, even a relative of mine who's a Yankees fan did that because he didn't want to pay for Amazon. So he just settled for watching the SNY feed, I heard.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is a big Yankee fan, and he did the same thing, actually. So, he just watched the SNY feed. But yeah, it's true. It was weird, actually, too, because the game was also on TBS, and the way they did the Subway Series this year is very strange. During the week, and then the first game, ESPN had exclusive rights, and it wasn't even on Sunday night. Just a very strange way they broadcasted it.
Yeah, that's true. Right? I don't know. I guess ESPN badly wanted to broadcast a matchup between the Mets and Yankees. What happened?
Yeah, and especially the fact that both teams are in first place, and it's a big market game now.
Yeah. Plus, let's face it. I know some college football fans are gonna fight me on this, but I'm really from New York, and we don't really college football thing in New York. All right, this is the biggest regional rivalry, if you ask me. This is the big regional rivalry in sports, right here. All right, this
Yeah,
is
like the
right.
biggest town, like because if you really look at the other, series, the series with the White Sox and the Cubs in Chicago, that series has a little bit of juice to it, but not as much as Mets Yankees. And let's not even bring up Dodgers Angels because that's not even in the same league as either of the two I just mentioned.
Plus, that Anaheim is quite a distance from Los Angeles.
Yeah, yeah, it is. People don't realize that. It's at least, I mean, from where I remember it was at least a 20-minute drive. And it's definitely, not that close to Los Angeles that you could call yourselves the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I always found that funny too. But
Yeah, yep, exactly. And that same friend from Alabama that I convinced to become a Met fan, she said that watching game, she described the Mets and the Yankees rivalry as Alabama versus Auburn on steroids.
yeah, yeah, no, that's true. And I mean, yeah, you are right where it definitely has those interstate rivalries in college football as well too, and Texas A&M, and USC and UCLA, and Miami and Florida. So there are a lot of heated ones, but I mean, I agree. And you know what too? It's also like apples and oranges because comparing football and baseball is very difficult. Football is such a weird guttural sport.
Yeah, exactly. But but yeah, tomorrow's game's got. I feel is a must win tomorrow, and I'm just gonna be on edge until that game is over. Even I meant to trust me. I'm gonna until that game's over. I'm gonna be on edge. And I told my mom, you know the drill, all right. This stretch run is gonna take a lot out of me from here to September to the end of September, might even into October. I said, it's gonna be crazy. I mean, I noticed that concert I'm going to, that I'm gonna see Bandmate live. It
Mhm.
falls is Game 1 of the World Series, to the point that if I get a ticket opportunity to purchase in the box office for World Series tickets, I'm gonna have to opt for, if assuming like Mets have games 1 and 2 at home, I'm gonna have to opt for game 2 because of that, because I'm gonna be at the concert.
Yeah,
Also,
and the
gonna be
Mets actually have a chance of getting that home field too if they beat the Dodgers and still have the best record.
actually I'm gonna be DVRing game 1, but also since the game 1 might be still on by the time that concert ends, because I know World Series starts like 8. Sometimes the way these games start, playoff games start, as soon as the concert ends, I'll be going into a bar to watch the game. And if really it's hard to find a TV tuned to the game, which that shouldn't be a problem, finding a TV tuned to the World Series at the Mets or the World Series, I do got the Fox Sports app. You know that's so.
True.
I'll be tracking the game. I'll be at that concert. Which, by the way, if you, I don't know if you remember when I mentioned Bandmate. If you ever looked at one of their videos, they're amazing. They're very. Oh, you saw one of their videos?
No, I didn't, but I remember you bringing it up though. I still haven't seen one of their videos though.
Trust me, they're amazing. And definitely also watch some of their live clips that they posted on their YouTube.
Okay.
That's where you really know how good they are, when you see live footage. I'll be going there wearing probably wearing my Mets cap and wearing a concert that in a venue that's standing room only. I don't know if you've heard of this venue, Irving Plaza.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, it's a standing room only venue, so I'm gonna really need to stock up on some Dr. Schultz for that. I don't normally do concerts in venues that are standing room only, but
Uh-huh.
this overseas that I don't get that many chances to see them perform in New York, and I'm gonna be there in the audience, and even and as I said, even though they might not understand the language they're singing in, but damn it, they speak the universal language of rock and roll.
I love it, man. That's awesome. You know, and so just like we were talking about, we'll be wrapping up a little bit on the Mets and the Yankees now. I mean, a couple of things that I did take out of this series though is Daniel Vogelback looks like he's battling some kind of injury. What do you think about that? He hit that 2-run home run the other day, and I mean he just doesn't look right.
Yeah, it doesn't look right. All right, I for one thing, I thought it was funny that he hit a home run as I'm eating ice cream. Which, by the way, Yankee Stadium, they do all the ice cream in a helmet is not done by scoops. Ice cream in a bowl that looks like a ball cap. It's done soft serve style.
Oh, okay.
That's how you do ice cream in a bowl cap. All right. Take
Agreed.
take notes, Mister Steinbrenner. That the Hal, I don't know which Steinbrenner owns the team now, but the ice cream, it was in like these it was scoops of ice cream in
uh,
a the batting helmet bowl.
oh, that's Bush League.
Because I mean, because I whatever team logo it is, just ice cream in a batting helmet bowl just hits different.
Agreed.
And don't do it. You don't do it scoops if you're unless you're at home and you're doing that with related. I'll do that at home. But when I'm at the ballpark, if you do that, it's done soft serve like they do it, like most other ballparks will do ice cream that way in a
Mhm.
batting. It's done soft serve style.
It agreed. It has to be soft serve, and so when we look at that at that series too, where it's like, um, the first game, it felt like the Mets were in it the whole game. Even though they were down 3-0, it always felt like I always thought they could come back at some point, get to the bullpen, even though they never did. what's his name, Marinaccio, and also Loizaga shut the Mets down, and there's nothing they could do about that. But in Game 2, there were so many missed chances. The Mets were 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position. It just felt like they just let that one slip through their fingers.
Yeah, that whole game. Whenever Mets do commit a costly error or they strand runners on base like that in a big spot, I'll yell. Also, you hit it right on the note about game one. Like it felt like the Mets were going to win that. There was some Met fans sitting by me that would say, "Yeah, don't worry, we got this." And I have to admit, if it would have gotten, if the Mets would have had a lead going into the ninth, I might have jokingly pulled out my phone and cranked out Edwin Diaz's walk-up song on my phone.
That would have been awesome.
I accidentally put my Bluetooth speaker in my drawstring bag, so I realized it was there. I said, "Oh shit! Not only could I do that, I could pull up to speaker and maybe make it even louder." even though I'm sitting like a deck right somewhere near where the left the the left field foul pole. Which, by the way, the left field foul pole. Another thing I have to say about Yankee Stadium: seats by the left field foul pole. Remember Barclays Center when they used? I don't know if you ever went when hockey used to happen at Barclays Center. Remember those seats out? You couldn't see one end of the ice.
Yes, the obstructed view seats. I remember that.
First time I saw the Rangers on the road in the Barclays Center, the only time I ever did, somehow my sister forgot about that because she had bought the ticket for Christmas for me. So I'm sitting in one of those obstructed seats where I had to look like every time anything was happening in that end of the ice. I had to stick my head up and look at the jumbotron.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when they built the Barclays Center, they didn't take seriously the rumors that the Islanders were going to move there when they were building it. Because if you remember during the construction, I don't know if you remember hearing this, there was rumors that the Islanders were going to move there, but I guess they weren't strong enough rumors that when they designed the Barclays Center that they were expecting it.
Yeah, you're right. And in fact, I think they made it in a way intentionally almost that they didn't want to have hockey there and still ended up having it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I heard players even on not only visiting players, but I even heard players in the Islanders complained about the ice.
Yeah, the ice was terrible there. Yeah, you always heard players complain about the ice. You're right about that.
Yeah, but thank God they corrected that. I have friends that are Islander fans, even though as much as I don't like the Islanders, I have to respect they finally got it right and built that arena. They found a place in Long Island that would be okay with that arena. And I kind of think I know maybe sometimes the traffic I hear is a bitch there, but though it does have Long Island Railroad access, so I have to give it props on that. I haven't been to that arena yet, but I've seen that there has Long Island Railroad access.
Yeah, it's a really nice arena. I went there last year. Me and my girlfriend, who's a big Islanders fan, went to the arena, and we had a great time. It was really, a modern, good-looking, clean arena, and really had great food too. We had seats with the food, and let's just say we ate our fair share. Well, at least I did.
I kind of feel that same way when I get those seats that you can hold in your feet. I love those Clover Club seats at Citi Field. At them where you can go to any concession stand and scan a ticket, and the food's free. The only thing you're paying for is the booze. Like I could go to any concession. I felt like that day, like maybe especially before the game, maybe once or twice during the game, that I did a concession stand sampler.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. That's what I felt like that ticket was. Like, I call those concession stand sampler tickets because I ate quite a bit and tried some good stuff. By the way, one of my favorite desserts at City Field, if you haven't tried it yet, this ice cream that's in a cone. It's a waffle.
Oh, okay.
It's the shape of a cone, but it's a waffle. It has the thickness of a waffle. It's soft like a waffle,
Yeah.
and it is one of my favorite desserts at City Field.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah,
I,
City Field has some good food there now, man.
yeah, another dessert that I thought was good, but I don't see them anymore. They used to have these fried Oreos there. Though that was a pretty good dessert at City Field
Oh
also.
yeah, fried Oreos, man. Those are on point.
Now, it is Old Timers Day this Saturday, and one of the greatest things that Steve Cohen has done since he's become owner of the Mets has been bringing back Old Timers Day finally. I am just looking forward to seeing all these greats back on this field. It's weird to see that some of these players that have played on this very diamond are considered old timers. Because
True.
my image of the old timers that played for the Mets are everyone that played in the Shea Stadium years, and we're going to see some guys that have played at City Field.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And yeah, like Daniel Murphy, like you wouldn't think of Daniel Murphy as an old timer. I mean, that's why David Wright said that he wasn't going to play because he didn't feel like an old timer. But yeah, we're going to have some real recents, including Jose Reyes. Did you see the teams yet? Because they already drafted them and they broke them up into two teams, Team Willie and Team Terry.
I didn't see yet, but it's weird seeing guys that have actually played at City Field are going to be taking part in this Old Timers Day. Like I'm seeing, I'm going to say the City Field era the players that I feel representing the City Field years. Well, some of them played at Shea also, but we're seeing is Daniel Murphy and Bartolo Colon, who were played for the Mets during the City Field years during their career.
Yeah, and we're on that World Series team, which is funny that guys on that team were on an old timers day list. That was only 7 years ago.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird, but I'm looking forward to seeing all these guys on a field again. Also, kind of makes me sad that unfortunately the great Gary Carter is no longer with us. Just a good family friend that I've gotten to know over years. He was a good friend of the family when he was alive. I know he would have been part of this Old Timers Day also.
Oh, he would have loved it, no doubt about it, man. And he, the shame is, now he's been gone for 10 years. You just wish what this Mets thing could have looked like for Old Timers Day had they decided to do it like 15 years ago. And maybe it would have been nice if he could have participated in it.
Would have liked to have seen that, and I just have a hunch that the Mets are going to retire his number. I know his number.
They should. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I know his number was retired in Montreal, but unfortunately, the Expos don't quite exist as the Montreal Expos anymore. So
yeah,
I really feel that the only other team I can think of that he played for any extended period of time was the Mets, and he had played for an extended and plus won the Sears championship with the Mets. So I feel the teams that he played for that still exists, that he also had an impact on, should have his number retired.
No doubt about it. I totally agree.
It does happen. It's almost possible that you might see me a little bit crying. Just like that day when I found out he passed away the next day, I went to City Field and I was wearing a Gary Carter shirt, or I guess like a jersey. I guess it was like a T-shirt, but the design looked it wasn't a button down; it was a throwover shirt, but it had the design of a jersey, right? And it was a blue one, right? And I was wearing this, and I had to see I took a look at I took a picture of the flag. The City Field was half mast, and I left flowers by the home run apple I know some fans left stuff by where home plate at Shea was, but I felt the home run apple may have been a good spot to leave his flowers because that was a piece of Shea Stadium where he played.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a
Yeah,
really great tribute for a really great man.
yeah, and that photo, I emailed it to the Daily News because I was shocked that there was no media coverage of any fans showing up paying their respects. It showed up on their Twitter account,
Wow, wow,
and the
very cool.
picture, I think I took a picture. It's just the back, and in front of the home and apple. I'm just looking. I'm just paying my respects to Gary.
Yeah, he's a definitely a great man, the kid. No doubt
Yep,
about it, man.
I have to give credit to the city of New York what they did when he passed. That night, they lit up the Empire State Building with their orange and blue lights.
Yeah, wow, very cool, very cool, man. Well, it's unfortunate that he's not going to be on the roster. But if you want, I'll give you the two rosters right now. I have them up, and let me just know what you think. I know. So Team Terry, they got Bartolo Colon, Al Leiter, Jesse Orozco, Bobby Ojeda, Turk Wendell, Dennis Cook, Steve Traxel, Doug Sisk, and Terry Leach. So I'll give you those pitchers right off the bat. What do you think of Terry Collins' pitching staff?
I think that's an interesting pitching staff. I feel it's like a lot of the 2000 team. I feel like also Steve Traxel might be. I know the game is going to be 2 innings, but well, remember the old joke with Steve Traxel with the Mets. Sometimes I knew, like I said, yeah, I don't know what time I'm going to get home. Steve Traxel pitching today.
Oh my God, that's funny. Yeah, yeah. Steve Traxel. That's why they used to call him the human rain delay.
So I have met Steve Traxel. He was a good guy when I met him. He's one of the nicest players I met. But I had to admit, when he was pitching, you kind of needed to kind of feel and probably beat it for a while, unless maybe there wasn't a lot of runners on base. If for those who don't remember, Steve Traxel seemed to be a lot quicker when there wasn't runners on base.
Oh yeah, no, you're right about that. But as soon as a runner got on, he slowed it down.
You also got to remember in 2006, Steve Traxel was the winning pitcher the game we clinched the NL East. I was there.
Marlins, you're right.
Yeah, he was the winning pitcher. He pitched a gem during that game.
Yeah, he did. And Steve Traxel had some big moments with the Mets, and big years. He won 15 plus games a couple of times, and just like you said, he pitched the clincher in 2006, which will be forever shown on SNY. So Steve Traxel will always have a place on there.
By the way, a little fact of that clincher, I didn't notice until I rewatched the game when I recorded it on my DVR. After when I rewatched it, I wanted to watch all the post game coverage and everything. I noticed that there was a fan holding a sign that had wow stickers on it.
Was there really?
Yeah, right when before the last out is about to happen, they show fans reacting as the last out's about to happen, and you see a fan holding a wow sign.
Very cool, very cool. A couple of O&A fans showing their pride there as the Mets clinched the NL East back then. Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, I noticed it, and I might have to tweet a screen cap of it because I know they got the footage of the last out on that DVD that commemorated the history of the Shea Stadium years.
Yes, yes,
I'm gonna have to tweet a screen cap of it later on.
definitely.
But yeah, that game, I remember that game, and that game, Steve Traxel pitched the wonderfully up. I even got a hold of a Steve Traxel bobblehead in my collection. I found out was an exclusive to Citi Field holders. I meant to season ticket holders when Al Leiter had suggested the Mets make a Steve Traxel bobblehead.
Yeah, Yeah, it's true.
Schedule they somehow didn't schedule it as a giveaway, but it was mailed to season ticket holders. I found out another wonderful season ticket holder exclusive item I got a hold of that was really cool is my home run Apple clock.
Oh yeah, with that is an awesome clock too, by the way.
Oh, you have one too?
No, but you showed me yours.
Oh no, I didn't show you the home run Apple clock. I showed you the Keith Hernandez clock from the Brooklyn Cyclones.
Oh yeah, actually you're right. You're 100% right about that.
I love having that as my alarm. By the way,
That is awesome.
so weird when he realized he was a part of that, but I think it's a great alarm. I mean, I even made sure that something to miss when I forget to set the alarm.
Mhm.
Because I also set my phone alarm also as a backup alarm. But I had to make sure to use that alarm on the day his number was being retired.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also that alarm on the anniversary of the premiere of Seinfeld.
Yeah. Very
And
cool. I remember that.
speaking of Keith Hernandez cameos and TV shows, a lot of people when they all talk about the Seinfeld episode. People, I feel when my mom loves Law and Order, she was watching. Keith Hernandez made a Law and Order cameo also.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. And one time I was somewhere that I met him. I've one of the many times I've gone that I've been lucky enough to get to meet Keith. I told him, I says, I know a lot of people tell you about the Seinfeld episode, but I'm one of the few people that also not only acknowledges that episode, but I feel they need to. I feel your Law and Order appearance needs to get some love also.
What did he say?
He appreciated. He said I may have been one of the very rare people that has brought up his appearance on Law and Order.
Very cool, man. Well, when I'll give you the position players now for Team Terry. It's a pretty cool mix of players right here where, of course, Terry picked his catcher as Josh Tolley, which makes total sense. But his outfield has a couple of 80s Mets sprinkled in with Steve Henderson and Mookie Wilson, along with Endy Chavez. And then his infield is Daniel Murphy, Jose Reyes, Todd Zeile, Howard Johnson, and Robin Ventura.
That's a stacked infield.
It is, right?
And does he have? Does he got Piazza at DH?
Well, no. Piazza is on the other team, on Team Willie.
Oh, Piazza's DHing. I hope.
Yeah, I think you're right. Piazza's going to DH, and I think Todd Pratt is well, actually, I'll tell you right now, Todd Pratt is the catcher for Team Willie, along with the rest of the team. Mike Piazza is listed as a catcher, but like you said, he's probably going to DH. Lee Mazzilli, Cliff Floyd, and Benny Agbayani. And then the infield, it's a very, very interesting infield of Rico Bronya, Tim Tuffle, Kevin Elster, Rafael Santana, and Edgardo Alfonso.
I cannot wait to see how this game, how this turns out, and hopefully everybody goes that gets through this game unhurt, because I know some of these guys have not played in a few years, and I also got to have to give my hats off to the people who made the trip. That even the ones that aren't taking part in the game but are going to be there for the ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to see that all these people were able to make the trip, and thanks Steve Cohen for being able to make it possible for all these people, for all these Met greats to get to be there for Old Timers Day.
Absolutely. One of the coolest people, or like one of the coolest things the Mets have done, and he is going to be there, is that an original Met, Frank Thomas, 94 years old, is going to be at the game for Old Timers Day. This is a guy who played 1962 and 63 with the Mets. He led the original Mets in home runs that year with 34. He's, like I said, 94 years old. Really cool that Steve Cohen and Jay Horowitz and who's pretty much running this whole thing with the a couple other guys in the alumni crew. But that's awesome they're bringing him in, right?
Yep. I also got to bring out a little fact about the history of the Old Timers Day, the Mets doing Old Timers Day. As we know, in the 60s and 70s, the Mets didn't have a really long history. The Mets used to have games. I think it used to be mostly involved around Hall of Famers. Old Timers Day, they're very, probably a lot of people fans are familiar with that song, Talking Baseball. I don't remember the words to the song, but the song references three players, Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. That song supposedly was inspired by a photo from Old Timers Day that had Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and Duke Snyder in a photo together that was taken at an Old Timers Day at Shea Stadium. That was actually the inspiration of that song I found out.
Wow, that's actually a really cool fact, and that's a great song. That's also where that Simpsons song, the baseball song, comes from. That famous episode.
I remember he actually got the guy to redo the song.
Yes,
and that was those episodes specifically from the decade of the 1990s are some of my favorite Simpsons episodes to watch in reruns. I feel today the show still has some funny moments, but 90s Simpsons just in the 90s in that decade just hit different. And there was just some great episodes that I still love rewatching. I mean, I'm tempted to buy that replica of the Stonecutters.
Yeah, 90s Simpsons was ridiculous. It was awesome, and like you said too, they got Terry Cashman, the guy that wrote that song, to remake it for them for that episode, which was really really cool. But yeah, you're right. Old Timers Day used to just be, a tribute to Hall of Famers and New York baseball. There's a lot of Dodgers and Giants and Yankees. You even remember, like you said, there was the pitcher of at center field in Shea Stadium, Willie Mays, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, and it was based around mostly guys who never played for the Mets. So it is pretty cool right now that we have this game this year that's going to be all about the Mets and the history of the Mets, right?
Yeah. Also, in relation to the history of the baseball in New York, because I feel Met fans are the descendants of the fans back in the day of the Dodgers and the Giants when they were in New York. I own in my collection a Brooklyn Dodgers cap and a cap of the New York Giants in my size. I own those in my collection. I also have a little miniature replica of Ebbets Field, replica of Polo Grounds.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, Ebbets Field's a classic stadium.
Yeah, because if you look at the history, it's pretty much, I feel those two fan bases were kind of like the ancestors of Met fans.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, my family actually is a perfect example of what you're talking about. My family was middle class family that owned a bar in Brooklyn for years, and then they sold the bar and moved out here to Long Island when my grandfather came back from World War II, out here to Levittown, and they did it, exactly what you said. They were Brooklyn Dodgers fans until they left for LA. And then when the Mets came around, from in 62, they became Mets fans. And they said the only thing they had to do from 58 until 62 was root against the Yankees.
Okay, as a matter of fact, someone asked me if I was around back then in that era, which of the two teams what team would have been a fan of in that era? And I said if I was alive back then, I probably would have been a Brooklyn Dodgers fan in that era. If I was alive in that era.
I agree. I couldn't see myself rooting for the Giants in Manhattan or the Yankees in the Bronx.
Yep,
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. But uh, we obviously and rightfully so have spent a lot of time talking about the Subway Series today and everything going around it. Um, one last thing I do want to close out on the future series that we're seeing right now. So DeGrom got bumped obviously from Game 2 against the Yankees, so he's opening the series tomorrow or today if you're watching this against the Colorado Rockies. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does now, coming off the first time the Mets pushed him last week when he threw 95 pitches
Yeah,
against the Braves.
I'm hoping he's still sharp because I feel like that game 2, the Mets should have let the Grom pitch game 2 because I feel we needed a win. It's going to be a challenge to get a win against a tough team, and we needed. You had your best pitcher on full rest.
Yep.
They should have grabbed the ball by the fours and
Yeah, I totally agree.
would have given the team the best chance to win that game. But
and it's no offense to Taiwan because he ended up pitching decent, and I know he's been dealing with a couple of injuries. But as soon as they said Taiwan Walker was starting that game, I knew the Mets weren't going to win. I just knew it. It just felt like they were just saying, you know what, we don't care if we're gonna try to win this game, but our main priority is to keep DeGrom healthy, and we're gonna give him a couple of extra days no matter what. Because the fact of the matter is, Taiwan Walker would have been a much better matchup getting back into the groove and into the swing of things against a team like the Colorado Rockies than he would have been at Yankee Stadium. But all credit to Taiwan too. He gutted out 5 innings and only allowed 2 runs against a very good lineup. So you can't take that away from him.
Yep, that I do. And at the same time, it would have. I just felt that when it was important, especially I feel like it's got it. Atlanta just doesn't go on long losing streaks.
If they lose at all, you're right. I mean, they're not even like like we were saying. We're hoping for a sweep, but we understand if they take 3 out of 4, that's okay too. The Braves haven't been taking 3 out of 4. The Braves have been sweeping everybody. The only team that really has given the Braves any trouble at all this year has been us, and the Mets, us, and it's really concerning where this lead, obviously we're up by 10 on June 1st. That's long gone. It's a game and a half right now. If you remember, we stretched that lead back up to 7 just a week or 2 ago. And now it's down to 1.5. And the Mets really, really have to go out and do damage against the Rockies in this series.
Yeah, that's true. And also, I have to say, this isn't something I normally say on Best Seat in the House, but if any sponsors want to jump in and maybe jump in and finance a trip to Atlanta for the end of the season, because I feel it might go to the end to that series. And if it did went to that weekend against Atlanta, I would want to make that trip.
I'm with you on that, man. Come on, JetBlue, hook us up. Let's go. Let's bring Best Seat in the House podcast to Atlanta to cover this last couple of games, because I agree with you. It seems like it's really going to come down to the wire, and the only thing that can prevent that is if the Mets go out and do what they need to do in September. Mets have a very, very light schedule in September, combined only .433 winning percentage. That's the easiest in baseball for September. The Braves is .477. That's 27th in the league, which means that's there's 30 teams. So that's the 7th hardest schedule in baseball for September. So, the Mets have to take advantage of that. And also another big thing is that there's going to be, I believe, 7. I think there's a 4-game series and a 3-game series between the Braves and the Phillies in the first or second week of September. So the Mets really have to win during those games too, because every single game from here on out is going to be huge. It's going to be a big momentum swing, and the Mets just have to be prepared to be in a dogfight until the end.
Yep, exactly. And I have to say also, when you said about bet to this specific airline, we'll take any U.S. airline.
That's true.
So whatever, any U.S. airline that's interested, feel free to hop on board.
Even Spirit, wink.
Yep.
So, all right. Just to close out on that too, one last interesting thing I saw too on the Yankees side. So the Yankees now are moving on from this series and they're going over to Oakland. The first two pitchers that the Yankees are facing in that series, interestingly enough, is so in game one, they're facing JP Sears, who is the left-handed 26-year-old prospect who it was having a really good season with the Yankees, playing part-time in the majors, coming out of the pen. Now he's starting for the A's. He's 5-0 with an ERA under 1.93. So that's one of the main guys the Yankees gave up for Frankie Montas, who had a really good game against the Mets the other day, unfortunately. But, JP Sears is going to be the first guy they're going up against. And then, funny enough, another left-handed prospect who got dealt for an Oakland starter. This time it would be Chris Bassett. The left-handed prospect I'm talking about is Adam Oller. So they're facing a former top Met prospect and a former top of their own Yankee prospect back-to-back days. A funny coincidence, right?
Yeah, what a coincidence. But that game against Pittsburgh, I was watching that game. That game between the Braves and Pittsburgh today, I was like, it was like scoreboard watching cranked up to 11 thanks to the MLB.TV app. Yes, free subscription.
Yeah.
Thank you, T-Mobile. Wink, wink.
All right. There we go. And so there's just a very, one other thing actually before we move on from Mets and the Yankees. What did you think of Aaron Boone's decision to just completely stay away from Aroldis Chapman for both games? Very weird. I mean, they had Wandy Peralta come in and get the last out, which I thought it was going to be Chapman, to be honest. I thought they were going to bring in Chapman and get that last out last night when Clark Schmidt couldn't figure it out and finish it off. But then even the night before, they used Loizaga to close it out. What do you think about no Chapman?
I think Chapman really doesn't. I feel like the reason he was successful in Cincinnati because he didn't have that high expectations. And I've seen it in those high leverage situations. Kind of seemed like he's able to handle New York well. And it's a miracle somehow he didn't blow a game in a high with another high expectation. Well, I think a team that used to be high expectations, but I don't think it's not really high expectations anymore with the Cubs because they did win that World Series in 2016. But back then, before the Cubs won the World Series, I felt that was a high pressure cooker team to play for because fans are just eager for a team to finally win a World Series.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it, man. And you know what? The thing is, yeah, you're right. Every single game was completely ridiculous. People were expecting the Cubs to blow it, and he ended up not being the guy to get the last out. So I guess that kind of says everything you need to know about Aroldis Chapman, even though he was considered one of the top closers before and after that. So it'll be interesting to see if he straightens himself out the rest of this year. I just thought that it was curious that Aaron Boone didn't even give him an opportunity against the Mets, especially with the fact the Mets have some, left-handed pop that he could have used them against, like Vogelback and Jeff McNeil and Brandon Nimmo. So he had the opportunity and never took it. So very interesting.
Really interesting, but Yeah, unfortunately that happened, and I might have gotten a bunch of Yankee fans laughed at me on social media because of that scene.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I totally get you on that, man. And it was a shame that the games had to play out the way they did. But, let's not go crazy. The Yankees are a good team. The Mets won the 2 home games they needed to, and the Yankees just returned the favor. So the only thing we can do is take it as it is and move on. The Mets are still on a serious pace here to win 100 games. I mean, at this point, I think they have to go 21-17, which is only 4 games over 500. Which, if you're looking at the Mets schedule, like I mentioned earlier, the Mets should breeze past that. So it's going to be real fun to see if they actually do eclipse that 100 win mark for the first time since 1988. And does that even mean anything to you, Dan? Do you want to see them win 100, or are you just let's make the playoffs?
Well, I would love to see them win make the playoffs and hopefully win the division, not do that first round shit because I feel that's like hit or miss. But also I might know somebody who might be able to hook me up with tickets if the Mets cross paths in the division series or the championship series. If they cross paths with San Diego, I might know somebody who might be able to maybe hook me up, and maybe I might have to see my plane ticket to San Diego or something for that.
Absolutely, that'd be awesome. I mean, going to San Diego anytime is awesome, but seeing a playoff game like that, playoff series,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I will go out there full Mets gear, and probably I think I'd probably be more enthusiastic than the Padres fans. Let's put it this way.
no doubt about it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it's a laid back bunch over there.
I'll pack. I would pack my Mets flag, and but I don't want to say, I don't want to mention any names, but I know someone who I think might be able to pull that off. No guarantees, but if that's with San Diego in the playoffs, I might have to contact him, see what he can do, and it might be a crazy time to have finally visited to have even visited this because he's been asking me for a long time when am I going to come to visit him in California. Like he's saying, "Oh, you got to come out nice here to reach out here." And, like and everything. So, but it might be a crazy time for me to finally. He finally doesn't have to ask me when am I coming out to see him.
Well, that would be very cool if that worked out that way. And you know what? Actually, we're running low on time here, and I was gonna say let's try to fit in some Knicks and Knicks talk right now, where they're still in deep talks with Phoenix about Donovan Mitchell, and
Gotta say this: bring Donovan home to New York.
I totally agree with you on that. I love that. They got to get that done, and also the Nets with Kevin Durant saying that he wants to come back. So there's a lot of back and forth there. We got preseason football with the Jets and the Giants, but to be honest, there's not and actually a big well, it's not really big, but it's like a dress rehearsal Jets and Giants game for next week. So you know what though, we'll be recapping the game next week. We'll be doing all that stuff next week. We're really low on time right now, but Dan, before we get out of here, do you want to give yourself a plug?
So my plugs I got. You can follow me on social media: Twitter Bobo103NYC, Instagram Bobo718DK, and YouTube Daniel Kurlan. Also, I'll be performing at a comedy club in Scarsdale, New York, opening for Mark Norman. I'm sure you saw my wonderful. Maybe I was giving a little taste of some of the material on the Kumia show the other day.
Yeah, that was a great appearance on Anthony's show, by the way.
Great stuff. I'm still working on the material. I'm still working on the material. Like, um, I'll have it ready by the time I perform, but I'm working up until all the way to the day before to really piece together the set that I feel will work best for this whole thing.
I think you're going to do a great job, man, because you're going to put in a lot of work, and it's going to come out great.
Yep, I wish they had molecular transporter technology so you could be in the audience as well.
I'm going to say, depending if I can get that day off, because it's a Monday. If it was on a Sunday or the weekend, I'd have a better shot of doing it. But if it's on a Monday, I'm going to see if I can get out early that day and see if I can come down.
Yeah, definitely come down to Scarsdale, the region of New York State that Sam Roberts is from. I know Sam Roberts obsessed with his Westchester.
The best Chester.
Westchester without Sam thinking of Sam Roberts. As well as someone I remember who was a good friend of the family that was from Westchester. So I've known some good people from Westchester, and I hope everyone enjoys that set. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing Mark Norman again. The last couple of times I got to be on Jim and Sam, he seemed to be there. So I've enjoyed being on air with Mark Norman.
Very cool. And are you planning on doing Jim and Sam anytime in the future?
They haven't asked me to do the show yet.
Oh, okay.
They haven't asked me to do the show yet, but it's been a while since they've invited me to do the show. But I'm waiting for that call. Great show, and good night, everyone.
Well, once again, Dan, absolutely. If you want to have a great time, go check out Dan at B-Side Comedy Club with Mark Norman. It might be sold out, but definitely check out bsidecomedyclub.com just in case.
And don't worry, if you're able to be there, I'm sure maybe I could work out something for you to be there.
Exactly. Let Dan know if you want to get a ticket. Let Dan know on Twitter at Bobo103NYC, or you could even tweet us at our Twitter account at bsith_podcast. You can also check out my personal Twitter account at CramerNY, and we definitely will be sure to direct you in the right place to get tickets if you can.
All right, no problem. And like I said, good night, everybody. We'll see you guys next week.
For the Best Seat in the House podcast, I'm Rob Cramer. This is Daniel Bobo Kurlan. You heard it great. First, have a great weekend.